In February of 1931, Dracula, starring Bela Lugosi, took a huge bite out of the box office and made Lugosi a horror icon. Later that year, Frankenstein, starring Boris Karloff, was also a monster hit, making Karloff a horror icon. And the debate of which one is better has been going on ever since. That is, until now. Today on Dusty Old Movies, I'll be deciding which actor is the better horror icon by judging them in 5 different categories. So, get your cup of tea and your Hungarian sulfur water, yummy, because as sure as my name is Bobby, this is Lugosi versus Karloff. Our first category is who has the better trademark character. Bela Lugosi played Count Dracula in 2 films, and Boris Karloff played Frankenstein's monster in 3. Dracula is a blood-sucking vampire from a castle in Transylvania. He can hypnotize people and turn into a bat. Bela as Dracula is evil incarnate. He has such a haunting presence. However, he also has a personal magnetism and an exotic sex appeal. In his real Hungarian accent, Bela has a strange speech pattern, where he truly sounds like the undead and delivers some fabulous spooky lines. Listen to them, children of the night, what music they make. Dr. Frankenstein created a monster by sewing together parts of old dead bodies, but accidentally gave his creation a criminal brain, tragically sealing the monster's fate. In his silent performance, Boris Karloff strikes the perfect balance of menace and sympathy. As great as he is, this is not a unique approach. Lon Chaney did it with his horror roles, and has been done countless times since. However, in The Bride of Frankenstein, the monster goes on a unique, emotional, and spiritual journey. At first he kills people. We're not psychotic, we're horror fans. But he does it to survive. Then he meets a friend who teaches him how to speak. But when that friend is taken away, he develops a hatred for humanity. But he longs to love. Go, go! You live! You stay! We belong dead. It's really touching. Unfortunately, when he comes back for the son of Frankenstein, they drop that character development. He's silent again, and except for a couple of moments, they don't give him anything interesting to do. So he starts to become less of a character and more of a prop lumbering around. Now when Bela finally returns to Dracula, it's in the horror comedy Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein. He has the same dark and charming personality, but with a new cartoon bat effect and a plan to use Lou Costello's brain in the monster. In terms of story, Dracula is a second banana there just to make Lou Costello look funny. But Bela's intense performance makes him the fabulous villain of the movie, and he steals the show. While Frankenstein's monster is great, Dracula is more one of a kind. And while the monster has to be in the spotlight to be interesting, Dracula could be off to the side, but still be captivating. So the point goes to Bela Lugosi. I'll drink to that. To scare or not to scare? That is the question! Which leads us to another question. Who's the better actor? Boris Karloff is a master at playing horror roles. From the monster, to the mummy, to the body snatcher. He's always fiendish, but he also finds the humanity in his characters, and makes these spooks well nuanced, interesting, and often relatable. However, when the character was on the campy side, he also knew how to play it tongue-in-cheek. Resting quiet. Now for a nice long drink. I forgot to tell you. It was salted. My only criticism of Karloff is that if the film or character isn't good, you could tell that he's not into it. In contrast, Bela always gives 100%. His screen presence is just as good as Karloff's, and although he was typecast as Dracula, When given the chance, he could be versatile, like when he plays Igor in The Son of Frankenstein. However, instead of finding the nuances of a character like Karloff does, Bela tends to focus on a couple of traits and play them to the extreme. This usually works pretty well, but occasionally it makes him a little bit too theatrical and harder to connect with emotionally, whereas it's usually easy to become invested in Karloff. So, the point goes to Boris Karloff. Point. Good. Now for our third category. Who made better movies? Well-informed horror fans, guess where this is going?
Boris Karloff starred in some of the best films of the horror genre. He appeared in some of the best of Universal's horror films. When he moved on, he was in Bela Lugosi's films, which were more psychological horror. And in the final stages of his career, he did horror comedies with Vincent Price and Peter Lorre. Now, Bela did some good horror movies too, but most of his good ones were either with Boris Karloff or he was a supporting player. With few exceptions, the solo Bela Lugosi films tend to be cheap and badly made, especially as he got older. To the point where he was playing God in a movie about transvestism, and his final film, Plan 9 from Outer Space, is often considered the worst movie of all time.
Home? I have no home. Hunted, despised, living like an animal. The jungle is my home. But I control the world. I will be its master by creating my own race of people. A race of atomic supermen that will conquer the world. That was from Bride of the Monster. These bad Bela Lugosi films do have a kind of charm to them, so if you like him, you might enjoy him. But I can't call Plan 9 from Outer Space good. However, with few exceptions, if you watch a Boris Karloff horror film, it's going to be good, if not great. So the point goes to Boris Karloff. These bites. Nowadays, information about an actor's life is as easily available as the films they're in. So our next category is who has a spookier lifestyle. This is my version of a teddy bear.
In life, Bela Lugosi was an emotionally intense man, fighting his own demons. And to an extent, he was Dracula off-screen and on.
Like the character, he was born and raised in Transylvania. And when he died, he was buried in full Dracula costume. I'm strangely jealous. One of his homes was nicknamed the Dracula House, and once he was out at a restaurant, and when he ordered the red wine, he said, "I only drink red wine because it's the color of blood." In contrast, Boris was a normal person. The only kind of spooky thing he did was the house he bought from Katharine Hepburn was supposedly haunted. And although he was proud and appreciative of the horror genre, he didn't take it home with him the way Bela did. So in real life, Bela Lugosi had an air of mystery and strangeness, befitting a horror icon. And once you learn about him, Boris Karloff really didn't. So the point goes to Bela Lugosi.
Just the way I like it. Neck and neck.
Now for our final category. Who's scarier? Boris Karloff is eerie to be sure. We have sympathy for him, but we never trust him, because we always sense the evil underneath. And when he acts on it, it's truly unsettling. You hear that, Vitas? The phone is dead. Even the phone is dead. It's the slight vocal inflection and the eyes that make Boris Karloff so spooky. However, with Bela, that super focused acting approach that knocked him down in the acting category becomes his greatest asset, because when he's doing something scary, his intensity is beyond belief.
He's like a wild animal when skinning Boris Karloff alive in The Black Cat. He's pure evil when abducting the streetwalker and murders in the Rue Morgue. And he's completely insane in The Raven.
What are you trying to do to me? To torture you. I tear the torture from myself by torturing you. 15 minutes. Torture waiting. Even compare the shots of the actor's eyes in The Mummy and in Dracula.
Boris's are certainly creepy, but the look in Bela's is horrifying. It's like a real vampire.
On screen, Boris is a person who does evil things, but Bela is like a demonic force of nature. So the point goes to Bela Lugosi. I love dead. Hate. Score. And now it's time to tally up the score. Carry the 3. And the winner is Bela Lugosi. When they were alive, the audience was more mainstream, and Boris Karloff was the clear winner of the debate. He was a great actor who specialized in making horror films, usually very good horror films. But as the audience has become more just horror fans who appreciate all things creepy, Bela Lugosi has risen in the ranks to being the equal of, or in my book, surpassing Boris Karloff. Every fiber of his being makes it seem like he was destined to be a spooky star, and he is the embodiment of a horror icon.